Oh my God, last day at Cannes Line.
I
Oh.
thought I was going to fall off. Imagine.
Thank you all for being conscious this early in the morning after last night's festivities.
Someone was out until 3 a.m.
No, truly.
This guy.
I've discovered the gutter bar this year.
That I wouldn't, no.
No, it's also like truly a black hole because you see all the people that you love and that you want to hang out with.
No, I know, so you can't, I know.
No, and then you just keep going deeper, deeper, deeper. But we're here.
We're here.
And we're fab.
We're healthy-ish.
Incredible look as well.
Thank you.
I need to make sure that you get your shine.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you. All right, so let's do some rapid fires to kick this thing off.
Cool.
Okay, so at this point, you're a travel expert, I'd say. You travel a lot?
Sure.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
So what's your favorite travel location?
In Europe right now, the sleeper hit that I discovered last summer is Montenegro.
Ooh. And where are you going after this?
I'm going to Greece after this.
All right, where's
yes.
All right, some Greek people?
Yeah.
Go Greece?
Yeah.
And then where's your favorite location to go on a Virgin voyage?
Montenegro.
Oh, I never.
Yeah, that was like a little plug.
Oh,
So we have our third ship, Brazilian Lady, who's based out of Athens for the summer.
Nice.
She does 7-night Greek islands itineraries. They go to like Santorini, Rhodes, Bodrum, Turkey, and all of those itineraries feature an overnight in Mykonos. But then on the next week, the ship goes to Croatia, 2 spots. Montenegro, which is where I discovered it's truly otherworldly. Like the ship sails through these incredible giant mountains and lands in this like very old world city.
Well, and is that where Andrea from Vayner and that whole crew just went? Did you see that?
I didn't.
They went on a wellness cruise, a Virgin, like right before this.
Oh, you're talking about the Elevate voyage.
Oh.
Yeah,
Okay.
no, that was actually in Barcelona.
Oh, I want to do that one.
Yeah.
All right,
That's also an incredible itinerary. But yeah, Montenegro, if you can get there, it's incredible.
Okay, so what's your favorite meal on Virgin Voyages?
So we have some incredible eateries on board. Most of them are managed independently of each other. Unlike most cruise ships where it's like one giant kitchen that serves all the places you can eat, our eateries work more like a restaurant you would find in New York or in Tokyo or Sydney. And so the chefs that helped us create those menus are James Beard Award winning. They have Michelin stars. But my favorite meal on board the ship is in our Mexican concept called Pink Agave, but it's not Mexican. It's actually steak.
Yum.
Yeah. So there's this like Mexican spice rub that they put it in, and it's truly the best steak on board. I would say I have yet to have a better steak at sea or on land since I had that. It's really, really good.
Okay, doing it. Okay, what's the longest cruise you've ever been on?
The longest cruise I was on was when we launched our second ship in the UK. I was on board for 49 nights consecutively. But it was a mix of like PR events.
Right.
Also, it was in March. Sailing around the waters of the UK is like not ideal.
Okay. So that was like more of a work thing.
Yeah.
Okay.
But
That's
generally,
work.
like from a consumer perspective, I think my longest has been 21 days, where it was 3 back-to-back 7-night cruises.
Okay, awesome.
Yeah.
And then any new cruise formats you're excited about?
I actually think, like, this is going to sound so cliche, rising tides float all ships. There's some incredible cruise product in general out in the world now, which I think is why you see so many people coming back to cruise or trying cruise for the first time. Icon of the Seas from Royal Caribbean launched earlier this year, and just to incredible fanfare. It's an enormous ship. My apartment actually like looks at the cruise terminal, and just super very big to look at. But I think our fourth product, which is launching at the end of next year, Brilliant Lady, it's our first ship that can go through the Panama Canal.
Oh.
So it starts her season in New York. She goes down to the Caribbean for a while, then goes through the Panama Canal, gets to be in LA and go to like Mexico and coastal California. And then in summer of 26, we will be the only adult-only product in Alaska for the first time, which is really cool. Our ship is made for you to be outside and be connected to the ocean. And if you've been to Alaska or know anything about it, the way that those voyages work is you basically are just sailing really slowly, looking at all of the wilderness and the wildlife. And our ship is built perfectly for that.
This is like a random question I just thought about. You don't allow pets, do you?
If you have a service animal, we do. Not emotional support. I know in the U.S.
I like to pull that.
We love our emotional support pugs.
Yeah.
But no, we do obviously allow service animals.
Right. But not like a pet.
No.
Okay. Got it.
Not
got it,
yet,
got it.
but who knows?
You never know, right?
Absolutely.
I know. It's like if you don't
There's
want to
a
bring your
huge
kids,
market
but you
for
want. I mean, there's I would do it. All right, let's get into sort of some of the business of the business. Last year, I learned that for Machado, like marketing extraordinaire, he started his career in chemical engineering, and now he's like the top dog here. How did you get to where you are today?
So I started my career in the travel industry on the phone selling cruises.
Oh my.
And it was really wild because I worked at Apple for a long time before there was an iPhone. And it was a very hectic time after all of that happened. And I wanted, in my mind, a more slow job where I could show up at 9, leave at 5. And I had a friend who was running the call center at Royal Caribbean. And he was like,
Were you good?
Well, this is the rub. So I was very overqualified for the role.
Right.
This was generally a role for somebody who was looking for a sales entry role or right out of college and wants to get their foot in the door. So that's how I positioned myself. I gave no context for my history other than I had been to a few places and been on a cruise. So they only let me do it for about 6 months. I was outpacing everybody else because truly and deeply in my heart of hearts, I'm a marketer. So I can really sell anything.
Right.
And then they were like, this isn't going to work out. You're making everybody else feel bad.
You were fired for being too good.
Yeah, well, they just moved me into a more appropriate role in the marketing org. I helped, and this is going to sound weird, but back in the day, you actually couldn't buy a cruise directly from a cruise company. You would have to call and talk to somebody on the phone, which, I'm an elder millennial, and that is a true nightmare scenario for me. I don't want to talk to anybody on the phone. If I can't text or email, it's not going to happen.
Right.
That's why, when we were talking about the taxes earlier, the fact that you can do it all with a bot now, magic. But they moved me into a role, and I helped them set up the website, all the content, the messaging, for them to sell directly to consumers.
So you were doing marketing before you even knew what marketing was?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Well, here we are.
Yeah, and then here we are.
All right. Well, speaking of marketing, last year you had that huge campaign with JLo, right? Gen AI. Did anyone see it? Google it. If not, you all saw it, and you all saw it. You just don't remember right now.
Our one clap in the audience. What I will tell you is, so the only reason that campaign happened is because we have an incredible agency partner in VML. This is Amy.
It was so funny. I still laugh about it. What was she? She was chief celebration officer.
That's correct.
Yeah, it was good. So that was a big splash, and I think that really put y'all on the map because you were semi-new.
Yeah, we started sailing in October of 2021, but as you can imagine, another nightmare scenario. Yeah. We took delivery of our first ship, Scarlet Lady, on Valentine's Day of 2020 in Italy.
Wonderful.
And that situation that happened followed us essentially from Italy to the UK, and the ship was actually on its way from the UK to the United States when the world shut down on March 13th.
Wait, what happened? You brought all the people in?
Yes, we did, but it was really crazy because the ship was meant to be going to New York.
Oh, right.
It ended up coming to Miami, and we didn't know what to do, right? There was this huge thing happening in Japan, and people were very nervous and scared. What do you do with a ship full of 2,000 people who have some kind of anonymous virus nobody knew? Yeah. So we all figured it out, and honestly, I think as a cruise brand, it gave us a chance to prove out what we had been writing on paper and selling smoke and mirrors and the dream about for a long time. So it was a blessing in disguise. And it also just changed the way that we think about feedback, opportunities. We just realized we're not going to get it right all the time. And sometimes there's things out of our control, but we just have to be honest, open, and be okay
and it
to
probably
change.
gave you time to slow down and come up with this awesome, obviously,
we
concept.
got basically an 18-month sabbatical, which no one asked for.
And you get a lot of money. Right?
Yeah. But we made it work to our advantage.
Yeah. Okay. So now what though? So you did that. Everyone knows about how amazing the campaign was.
Yeah.
You're on the map now. Now sort of where are you going to take it from an advertising, branding type perspective?
Well, interestingly enough, I'm not always a huge proponent of having a celebrity in ads.
Totally.
Also, Virgin in general, we have a very iconic, very recognizable gentleman who's responsible for any of the Virgin companies existing in Richard Branson. But what ended up happening with Jennifer Lopez, our investment partners at Bain Capital have a really good working relationship with her team, and the opportunity presented itself. But we had never done anything with her, right? It's like we had made an announcement, but we never actually made the move to create something. And at the end of 2022 was when the words Gen AI and ChatGPT and DALL-E were all coming into the zeitgeist. And literally just randomly, we were having a creative meeting to think about what our brand campaign was going to be for Wave. It's like a big sales season. And we said, well, why don't we do something with Gen AI and Jennifer Lopez and call it Gen AI?
Yeah, because you guys were actually kind of the first to start using AI like that.
Yeah.
I know people are talking about it now, but that was sort of the big, at least in a mass way.
Yeah.
It was great. It was great.
And it was honestly, it was a huge effort. Not to like do a whole sales pitch for the VML team, but they used like a wild amount of technology behind the scenes that made it super easy. The genesis of the idea came, we uncovered an insight where people loved to get on board with us. They come back and repeat at over 50%. So if you get on board, you're more likely to come back than you are not.
Wait, is that bigger than most cruise lines?
Yes.
Like by far? Okay.
Absolutely. I mean, we do have a little bit of an advantage that we're an adults only brand. So like the kids aren't making the decision to come back. Yeah. So
as someone with a 3-year-old, yes. I understand.
But it's still an incredible figure. But what we had uncovered was they wanted to bring their friends and family with them, but they were super awkward about how to start the convo. Because at our brand, we have this phenomenon of only if you know. Not if you know, but only if you know. So like we struggle telling people what it's like on board. Like you heard me give you a little bit of the marketing spiel here, but if I took you on board and then you came back, the only thing you're going to want to do is talk about it to your friends. Mm-hmm. And if you find somebody else who's been on a voyage, you kind of like go into the rabbit hole. It's like when you find somebody who watches a TV show that you love and you're like, oh my God, let's talk about last week's Grey's Anatomy. Like it's like that kind of a
well, I was telling him I have 2 good friends that had never cruised. They're early 40s. They're like anti-cruise types. I feel like that's like kind of your consumer. They're like, I've never done it before. I don't know if I want to do it. And they loved it.
Oh, absolutely.
And now they're like that. They're like the walking, talking Virgin Voyage people now.
So we just turned her into a bot that literally, it asked you some questions. It asked you who you were going to invite and where you wanted to go. And then we used the AI to say, she would say your name. She would say the name of the person who was going to go and what type of vacation you were going on. Like if you were celebrating a birthday.
That's so sick.
Yeah. And back then, which is so wild how fast technology changes, back when we were doing the planning, we had to program a voice model using her entire audiobook. I'm also not sure if you've ever seen how they used to program those voice models, but you would read all this gibberish for lines and lines and lines and lines. Now, you could find a 30-second video of yourself on Instagram and it can like make basically a voice model in 2 minutes.
Yeah, AI is obviously.
This was completely bleeding edge. And this all happened, by the way, as you were filling out the form in a cloud server that generated a personal video that you could share within 10 seconds of you hitting submit. It was like enormously complex. And Brian, who's not here, but also at VML, is wild that he was able to put the pieces together to make it all work. So kudos to him.
Well, congrats. Sure. Okay, so moving. I know. Okay, clap. Everyone. And check it out. Google it if you haven't. It's really good. Okay, so getting into now what you're doing. And to your point, you need to share the experience with others. I know you guys do a lot on social. I see it.
Yes,
it's great. I know you lean into influencers. Yep. Can you talk about that? Like, I know sometimes you want tight moderation, looser. Where are you guys in the mix of that?
I feel bad for Dan, who's sitting over there, because he's heard me give this spiel all week. I truly and deeply believe that the real reason that Virgin Voyages is still a company today is because of creator and influencer marketing. Like at the beginning, when we were first starting to sail again, cruise was the most heavily regulated industry in travel after COVID. Mm-hmm. And obviously there were people who were fiending to get back on the water, but those cruisers all talked to each other. So while their reviews and their kind of like authentic take on what our product was super important. The only way that we were going to get in front of people who weren't aware of us is by using influencers and content creators. And so rather than spending all of our time and effort trying to do kind of like the Mad Men era tactics, running linear TV and billboards, while we were doing that, we actually made a huge investment in trying to just get people on board to give us their real thoughts and opinions. So we, Lauren Gorel, who heads up our influencer marketing team, basically she reaches out, she invites people to come on board. The only obligation is that they post, but we have no editorial control.
Wow.
We actually do it in reverse, where we say we don't want to see it before you post. And we're not going to make a deal with you to
keep
license
it authentic.
100%.
Yeah.
We won't make a deal with you to license it until after you post it, because we don't want you to be like kind of influenced to say something nice on our behalf. We want you to be true and real about it. And we watch every single post, and we try to make big strategic changes around the product based off of what people feel. So it's also a good, metric for us to calibrate the product for what people are looking for.
Right. And it also helps do some of the myth busting, right? Because I think that raise your hand if you've been on a cruise before.
Oh, wow.
Oh, some pretty good numbers, actually. I think that there was at one point, I forget this, what is it? Dead, overfed?
Yeah.
Newlywed.
Dead. Nearly dead, overfed.
We don't want that. We don't want that as a tagline, I don't think, right?
No.
So I think that there was sort of that perception. Mm-hmm. So I guess these influencers, these campaigns, I would think too, you'd be leaning into video. Are you going to be leaning into video? Yeah, to
absolutely.
Be able to tell the story. Because it's hard to really create a message like this with a banner.
Yeah. I mean, so I'm an elder millennial, but truly inside, I feel like I am Gen Z. I aspire to be Gen Z.
Wait, what ages are Gen Z?
They are like early 30s and under.
No, you don't want that.
No, I absolutely want that. So truly and deeply. Like Alex Earl is here. I'm such a fanboy. Jake Shane, we saw at Spotify earlier this week. Absolutely obsessed. They just have such a unique and different way of looking at the world. Fair. And very truly understanding where they want to spend their time,
Fair.
Energy, and money. And it is so different from the way that I see the world. I'm fascinated by it.
They have boundaries.
Yeah, you know what?
According to my sisters.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. They definitely have boundaries. I think what also the mentality that they'll figure it out, while they have anxiety about other things, the crippling anxiety of not having the perfect plan every single time, it just isn't as pervasive as it is in what I think my generation.
Yeah, of course. And you have to do X to get to Y. Of course, the whole thing.
And so I think with that, the whole video content review, even if they only have an audience of 5 and 2 of those people are their parents, they still go out of their way to post, because that's how they express themselves.
Totally.
It's kind of giving live journal, MySpace vibes, which I'm here for.
Same.
But yeah, they're an important piece of our marketing mix.
Love it. Okay, so let's talk about, we talked about a little bit about media partnerships. What about on the boat partnerships? So I know you have partnered with Barry's, Personal Faith, and some other workout classes. What are some of your favorites, or what are you looking forward to?
So this summer, we're actually doing a big partnership with SoulCycle. So part of the well-being experience at Virgin Voyages is that we want you to be able to detox, and whatever that means for you, laying in your hammock reading a book, going to a spin class, running around our track. But then we immediately want you to retox as well.
That's I understand that world. That's kind of
We have a lot of different ways for you to do that. But for us, what we want to do is we want to bring the adjacency of somebody like a Barry's or a SoulCycle into the world of Virgin Voyages, because the people who sail with us know we have an incredible focus on well-being, and they can now take that, love for our brand on land. But then SoulCycle, as an example, and the reason that we're doing something big with them is they have evangelical fans. They're
totally
obsessed. Yeah. I love the product. And so over the course of the summer, starting in the Hamptons at the Barn, they do a big SoulCycle studio in the Barn. You'll be able to have a Virgin Voyages themed ride. And at all 61 studios globally, when you take a ride in July and August, you enter for the chance to win a Virgin Voyage. All you have to do is take a class.
Wow. Okay, wait. So, but there's not going to be. Are there going to be SoulCycle bikes on the cruise?
So we're bringing the day that we launch it on July 20th. The Virgin Voyages themed ride that's happening at the barn will also simultaneously happen on the ship with a SoulCycle instructor.
That's awesome.
Yeah. So
I'll be out
really
there in
cool.
August, so I'll go to the SoulCycle.
Yeah, it's the first time we're doing a partnership in this way, where we're trying to focus on the thing that we spend a lot of time and attention on, but isn't food or entertainment or bar. Because it's also, we find, and especially in our survey data, that people having access to those facilities on board the ship, yes, there's absolutely people who are training to run a marathon, but there's also people who are intimidated to go to a gym on land, and they are able to start their health and well-being journey by having no shame about it. Like, they can go and walk around the track 3 times, and you know what? That maybe that's more physical activity than they've done in a year, but at least they got started in a low pressure environment. So we're trying to bring attention to all the different ways it helps people.
I love that. Yeah. Also, you've got to talk to us about Amazon Live Shopping.
Oh my God,
it's so awesome.
Cool.
Okay.
Yeah. So we just did a partnership with Amazon Live. So if you're from the US, you know about a home shopping network called QVC, if you're of a certain age. In the UK and in Australia, they have a QVC-style channel that just sells cruises, which makes sense, right? Travel advisors are still massively successful today, because when you're making a high consideration, high price purchase, you want an advocate. You want somebody to help you along for the ride. But for us, we don't really have a venue like that, or a format like that in the US. So I went to Amazon and we pitched them this idea. They do Amazon Live selling in a studio in New York, just like QEC, but it's usually for like a spin mop or for like workout gear. Well, I said, I have plenty of places you could show off both those things, but then do it with the backdrop of the ship. And so basically they came and they filmed over 5 days. Everything you saw in the stream, everything they were wearing, what they packed, you could buy. But you could also put a deposit down for a voyage. So we normally don't allow you to do that. Normally you have to pick your cruise, the date that you're going and where you're going to go. It's like usually a percentage of the total price. We said, give us $300 if you're interested. We'll give you a big discount and we'll give you some onboard credit. You have up to 2 years to decide where you want to go. But basically, we had them do all the experiences on the cruise, on land, and it already has over 70 million watches.
That is huge.
Yeah, it's super crazy.
But you were telling me too, in Europe,
yes,
that this is like normal?
No, yeah, in the UK and in Australia, this is a really big thing. So we're going back to them now. They filmed over the course of that 5 days probably enough footage for 4 or 5 episodes. So we're going to take the format and now kind of evolve it to this next step, where the 2 hosts that were on board, we're going to go talk to them live in the studio, talk to them about the different itineraries that we offer, and then they'll kind of shoot over to the B-roll of them having experiences on the ship. But
so smart.
It was really incredible. And we're definitely excited to do more with them.
So smart.
We love our Amazon.
I know. I Googled it, and now there's even a deal, like a $300 deal associated. Yeah. Go check it out. Let's talk about experiential. I know that you mentioned the SoulCycle doing that.
Yeah.
Is that a big strategy of like bringing sort of the nature or the feel of the cruise on land and getting people to sort of test some things out?
I think so. I think for the past 2 years, we focused a lot on the what, right? Many people know who Virgin is, but we needed to explain who Virgin Voyages was in that ecosystem. We specifically don't have the word cruise in our name because in our minds, we're not a cruise. We are a voyage. So there are some aspects of taking a trip at sea that people who are cruisers may know, and that we do a lot of things that they love, but there's a lot of things that we don't do, right? There's no dress code on board. There's no main dining room. All of the food is included. So there are fabulous restaurants, but you don't get an upcharge for it.
Interesting.
All the entertainment's included. Really, the only thing that you spend money on are alcohol, but instead of charging you $30 for a martini, it's $10. It's like street prices.
Right. Well, and the no kids thing.
Yeah. Oh, well,
which
no
is
kids.
Like a huge,
I mean, that's the biggest differentiator.
The whole thing.
For sure.
Will you ever have kids?
Over my dead body. Truly. I mean, it's like, it's the problem that you solve in the market that helps you differentiate.
Right.
Like, that is our differentiator.
That's your differentiator. Yeah.
No. It will be time for me to go somewhere else if that happens. Really.
Don't do it, guys.
But we spent the last 2 years telling people what we are.
Right.
But now we're moving to this new stage where we're going to help people understand how we make you feel. And like, what are the things that you're going to come away from that are a bit intangible?
Right.
So that's where we're spending a lot of time and thought. People get...
I mean, listen, yeah. I want to go on vacation with my kids
now it's
too.
time to help them understand, like, you can have this, and this is how it will make you feel.
Right. No, totally. I know we talked a little bit about what I have it written down. The magic that is you. It's a thing that does Richard Branson say that?
Yes.
Okay. Richard Branson says the magic that is you. I'm actually wearing a dress that I saw Dylan Mulvaney wear. And so that's sort of apropos of this conversation. Marketing right now, I think the world is just such a fragmented, scary as shit time. And so marketers are like, you don't want to do the wrong thing. You don't want to say the wrong thing, all of that kind of thing. But you guys really lean into the magic that is you, which I think is so sweet. So talk a little bit about that. Like, do you guys ever, I don't know, do you ever get nervous?
I personally am not necessarily one who's super like risk shy.
Totally.
I think, I know, imagine. What I will say is, like any big corporation that has investors, so we're private equity owned, we have transitioned in today's world from being like the fuzzy Mad Men style marketers to starting the conversation with, what is our opportunity? What do we think our estimated return on the investment that you're going to give me is going to be? But in the meantime, here's all the things that your friends and family are going to call you about if you give me the money to do this. So I think we are the provocateurs within the company in a way that gives us a lot of freedom to do incredible things. But we are business minded in that we still want to be able to do that 2, 3, 4 years down the line. So we can't just kind of blow the budget out and not have anything to show for it.
Right.
We have to start with, how are the guys sitting behind their Excel spreadsheet actually going to measure the thing that I want to do.
Right. And how has working for an organization that believes in that and allows you to be like your authentic self?
Yeah.
I mean, look at you. How has that, sort of mantra helped you in your career and in your life? Yeah.
I always say that working at Virgin is the first job in my career where who I am is an accelerant for my career.
Totally.
And I think most people who work at Virgin will tell you the same thing. Richard is an incredible, very calm energy when he needs to be. But he is also a disruptor and, like, to my point earlier, a provocateur. He'll always say yes and then ask you, okay, so you did this time. How are you going to make it even better?
Yeah.
And I think that's kind of where we all go to when we're thinking about the next thing that we can do is, like, is this something that Richard's going to be proud enough to show up and actually support? That's certainly in our minds a lot when we're deciding on what we want to do next. We're lucky that he spends a lot of time with us as a brand. If you take a look at his Instagram as of late, it's like every third post is on a Virgin voyage. And the ship actually sails by his island in the
He waves.
Yeah, he does. No, he actually comes out. He comes out on the pier. He waves. Sometimes he gets on a little paddle board and kind of swims. Yeah.
That's so cute.
I know, it's a little wild. Risk, but it's fun.
No, I love it.
Yeah.
I love it. I love it. And then maybe lastly, before we open up to questions too, I know that environmental causes are near and dear to his heart.
Yeah, absolutely.
And then ultimately y'all's heart, right?
Yeah.
And I know that you promised by 2050 you're gonna have a net neutral carbon,
sure.
something like that.
Yeah.
Anyways.
Okay, so it's a weird conversation to have, right? We are a giant metal vessel floating around on the ocean burning fossil fuels. So it's like,
True.
It's weird.
True.
But what I will say is that everybody in the world has an impact on the environment. So what we're doing is, from the inception of the brand, we're starting to make changes for kind of almost unconscious environmentalism.
Right.
So example would be, on most cruise lines, on a daily basis, people who are sailing interact with 47 single-use plastics. So, like, if you order room service, every single plate that you order comes wrapped in a piece of cellophane that is then immediately discarded. Every cup comes with a piece of plastic on the top of it from a sanitation perspective. You get 1 million bottles of water, either in your room or at the bar. So we took that 47 and reduced it to 10. So, for instance, we redesigned the entire way that you order food for yourself on the ship. We call it Ship Eats. I used to work at Uber. with the Uber Eats brands. A little inspiration there. But basically, all of the food containers are all reusable. They either keep the food hot or cold. They have little compartments so that it keeps everything where it's meant to be, kind of like a bento box. And it all gets zipped up in this like almost camp style bag that so everything stays where it's meant to be. When you're done eating, you just throw all of those things back in the bag, you zip it up, and you just hang it on the outside of your door. So
that's awesome.
You don't also have trays of food sitting around everywhere that causes norovirus or things like that.
Right. So it's all the little incremental things that are just not necessary.
Now, we're also doing really big things. So shore power in the cruise industry is a really big environmental shift so that when the ship is alongside, we can actually plug in. And we use about 80% less fuel that way. So we have 2 ships that are already retrofitted for that. The 3rd one will happen at the end of this year. And then the 4th ship, Brilliant Lady, that comes out next year is already set up for that when she starts in operation.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
All right. And then actually last, before questions, what are you most excited about for Cannes? Well, it's almost over.
Yeah.
Or what have you seen? I don't know.
Actually, I'll tell you, I'm most excited about going to the Google Pride event later.
Nice.
Yes.
Where's it at? Can we get tickets?
It's at Google Beach.
Okay.
We have an incredible partner in Google. We love working with them. But I do think like the Alphabet Mafia is here this week. Love them. And obviously having Pride Month and having all of these creative minds together, like there's so much cool networking that you get to do while you're at these events. But then being able to celebrate Pride on top of that is just like icing on the cake. Plus the Spotify beach thing.
Should we do Kargo Virgin Voyage drones next year?
Oh my gosh. So wait, we need to like
committing to the
shift
drone
the
show.
Environment here for a second. So did you guys all see the drone show last night? Yes,
cool,
that was
right?
Kargo.
I know. We're doing it again tonight, I think, weather permitted. But
it was so cool.
And drones are crazy, guys. We did it last year. I don't know if you saw it. The technology, it's just like has leapfrogged. So this year's so much cooler than last year.
We had done when we launched this JLo partnership, we did a huge drone show in Miami, and I was even surprised back then. It was like very easy for us to program. The cost has like come down so much because the technology's evolved. But
it's pretty
we
expensive
need to do something
here.
together.
Well, we have to bring a barge from like I don't know where here, so like it gets a little
I thought somebody's yacht sank. Then I realized, that's the barge for.
No, I know. Everyone's like, what's that barge? I'm like, that's kind of our fault.
No, but we got to do something next year.
No, let's do something next year. I'm serious.
We'll bring the ship. We'll do
something really cool in the air.
Yeah.
Okay. All right.
Love it.
Okay. Whoever signed the paperwork, someone.
Oh no, that's actually me. That's why I was saying let's do it.
Okay. He just literally. There we go. Agency.
I don't make promises I can't keep.
Okay, there we go. Anyone have any questions? I'm sure someone. Anyone?
It's also okay if you don't. I get it. It's day 4.
Anyone? She has no. That's my best friend. She has no voice.
Oh, hey.
That's my husband. He has no question.
Look, see, you had your people come.
I have a lot of people. Yeah.
Love that.
All right. There's my other friend, Gabby. Gabby, you always have a question. So you're eating.
All right. What was your favorite party of the week?
Spotify last night was wild, but not to like always go back to it. But the VML crew invited me to the WPP beach, and that was pretty
WPP
lit.
Beach, great.
Yeah, it was really
Spotify,
really
were you the oldest person there? I was on Tuesday night.
No.
You weren't?
Interestingly, well, you were definitely there with the Gen Z night.
Yeah,
we went to Arcade
Gen
Fire
Z.
and Justice, which was like millennials dancing.
It was so fun, though. It was so fun.
We were all in our little boxes. It was fun.
She has a question.
Oh,
yeah.
Hi.
Okay, I've never asked you this before.
Okay. Okay, so number 1 right now for me is Jonathan Anderson. He has an eponymous brand, JW Anderson. I'm a huge fan of his clothes, but I think the work that he's done with Loewe, which is a Spanish heritage brand, that he's completely made the hottest brand everybody wants to wear, be seen in, or work with. I find him incredible, and I just love what he does. I think he's so friendly and kind. Every interview I've ever seen of him, he's just like an actual human. But I think he takes risks. Like he saw a viral meme of this tomato that somebody posted that was like, I don't know, this tomato just seems so Loewe to me. And then he made it into a bag. Like he's awesome. Super, super cool. So I love that. I also have to say, I love Rare Beauty and what Selena Gomez has done in the beauty space. I think she took a view on it that was wanting to lean into the authenticity of what beauty means for everybody. She spends time and energy with the creators who have helped that business really succeed. And I just find her so inspiring. And I love her romance with Benny Manasseh. It's just so cute. So yeah, I think those are the two big like fangirl moments I would have. Yeah. Yeah.
There you go.
All right, so what's on the dream shelf that you haven't been able to
So
Drones and can.
Oh no, well I can make that happen. That's more of an aspiration than a dream. Yeah. I would say I would love for us to find a way to do more sampler style product. So let's say, for instance, if we did bring the ship here next year, I want people to be able to get on board for one night to remove the friction of being scared of being locked on a giant vessel at sea. So for me, I want to figure out a way to help introduce that and to work with partners like the people who are, demonstrating what they can do here at an event like that to kind of introduce us into the world that
it's so smart, and why not? People are staying on yachts.
Absolutely.
I mean, just come stay there for a night.
We did a really cool activation 2 years ago with Conline. They're an incredible partner to work with for the young lions, and we did a big party on the ship. And I was telling Gail, who's here, every single person I've talked to, and I tell them I work at Virgin Voyages, they're like, well, where's the ship? Like, I didn't see the ship out there this time. So, yeah, we have to bring it back.
All right. We're doing it. Yeah. Another one?
Yes, another one.
So I have to say, I love the Four Seasons brand. I just spent 2 weeks in Hawaii at the Four Seasons for my wedding anniversary. I will stay there all the time. Love, huge brand advocate. But my favorite part about so many people, like Amon's going to have a ship, I think having all of these various formats of travel at sea kind of brings the romance back to sailing in every single format that you can imagine. So I think for me, what's exciting is that we're spending time and energy as a whole industry showing people that there's so many different ways to travel. And we were talking about this a little bit, we're not going to be the right cruise brand for everybody all the time. But what we want to make sure is that when we are meeting all of the check boxes on the criteria, that about us to consider us. And I think having a product like the Ritz-Carlton or the Four Seasons also in that consideration set is also very helpful. Because if you want to do, let's say, what I'm calling the new multi-gen family, which is adult kids, their parents, and their grandparents, reestablishing that that's cool and they'll still pay. But now for alcohol, I helping people understand that there's lots of different ways to do that. I think it helps everybody.
All right. Well, I'm going to get the last question.
Yeah,
Billy.
of course.
It's Pride Month, but we know it's Pride all year round.
Oh, I mean, for me, every day. If I'm conscious or unconscious.
How do you reach queer audiences throughout the year, and what role does queer-owned media play in your plans and your marketing?
So Virgin Voyages is a company run by incredible, fabulous women and lots of very zany gay men. So for us, inclusivity, both with the LGBTIA plus community, plus people of color, shape, size, any creed you can imagine. Rather than making content specifically for them, what we do is we make sure that we are authentic in what we're casting and everybody is included as the part of the core brand assets. I think as a brand, being adults only, it already removes a huge barrier to entry for people. Because unconscious or not, there is a stigma when there are kids around about have parents had a conversation that this is also a type of a relationship that you'll see out in the world. Sometimes that's awkward for people, not only the parents, but for the people who are being observed. We have none of that. So naturally, people gravitate towards us. I think what we are looking for and what we're trying to do now is make sure that we're conscious of all the different types of representations that we need. To the point we were making earlier about mental health, yes, Pride Month is super well known. It's known all around the world. It's because we spent decades struggling to feel like we were humans too and that we had a voice. But there's so many other marginalized communities that need that same help and representation. And we want to be a safe space for them to come when they do have time to disconnect, relax, and enjoy.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
That was great.
Thank you
so much.
Please join me in thanking Lizzie and Billy.